The beautiful Hill City sky lights the way for a thrilling ODAC semifinal matchup, but by the time the sun sets, one team's season might be falling with it. Two squads that have dominated the ODAC climate in recent years, testing the waters of the NCAA tournament and beyond. Sting or swim, it's the ultimate test for a spot in the ODAC championship between the Virginia Wesleyan Marlins and the hometown Lynchburg Hornets. Hi everybody, welcome to Lynchburg, Virginia. Evan Gates alongside my good friend Ethan Morotsky. Ethan, these two teams that felt like we're on a crash course the entire season with their success in recent years, we've got it on Schellenberger Field today.
Well, like you said, both these teams, some would call them rivals. They've met twice in the ODAC tournament, three times in the ODAC tournament in the last 3 years. This is a rematch from 2022 and 2021 ODAC championships. 3 years ago, the Hornets defeated the Marlins in penalty kicks, and the year prior, Virginia Wesleyan took home the hardware with a final score of 1-0. Earlier this season, the two teams met in Virginia Beach, where Lynchburg took the win with a score of 2-0, with goals scored by Madeline Boyce and Liliana Irigoyen. So it's going to be a fantastic matchup, and I'm super excited to do it with you.
Well, as we take a look at some of the numbers, you know that regular season matchup isn't always a complete indicator of what to expect. These two teams looking a little bit different at this stage of the season, but for Virginia Wesleyan, it is one of the most attack-minded offenses in the conference. They have the defense to support it as well. Someone who we will talk about later is Cheyenne Diaz, who has been consistent all year long, whereas Lynchburg's defense has really been the story this season, a veteran back line.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that points out to me is the clean sheets. 11 clean sheets for this Hornet defense slash goalie. Obviously, the clean sheet goes to the statistic of the goalie, but is very skewed. The defense helps out a ton. Like you said, a veteran back line. We've got Haley Casey, Laura Garkowski, and so much more on this team. There's so much depth on the bench for this ODAC team, too. And you got to take everybody into account.
Well, it's interesting when you look at the Marlins as well this season. A few names that haven't necessarily been in the lineup due to injuries and some other causes. And so Virginia Wesleyan has had to find a new path and a new blueprint, but they've done so successfully coming into this one on a 3-game winning streak. As we'll take a look at some of the keys to the game for both teams. At this stage of the season, you got to rely on what's gotten you here. And for Virginia Wesleyan, it's about aggravating on offense. They are known for their aggression, and last season, averaging 2.3 goals per game on 18 shots per contest. They are a little under that this season, but an offense that still threatens every single game. They also got to eliminate set pieces. Lynchburg has lost the corner kick battle in all 4 of their losses this season, and the Hornets are very versatile when they do have those set pieces. Now looking at Coach Olson's squad, you got to widen the war zone. Lynchburg has been doing so well with their wings, Ella Irons and Liliana Irigoyen, who, by the way, scored the 3rd-minute game winner to get past Bridgewater in the ODAC quarterfinals. They will be a threat. And then mastering the midfield. You got to eliminate these runs from the Marlins, a team that looks to go forward with a very unconventional and unorthodox style. It's an offense that certainly deserves respect, Ethan.
Absolutely. Today it's going to be a matchup, or a huge matchup for offense and defense for both these teams. We talked about it before the broadcast today. Every single team that's left in this ODAC tournament could be the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed. It's really anybody's ball game. Anybody could come out an ODAC champion after this week. So this matchup is so crucial. Obviously, every single ODAC matchup is going to be important with two great teams in Virginia Wesleyan and the Lynchburg Hornets. But now it's playoff time. It's crunch time. You can't make any mistakes, and if you make a mistake, you got to make up for it in some way, offense or defense. So it's super exciting when it comes to playoff time.
Very little room for error at this stage of the season, and we understand that you got to go out and you got to perform. But for so many of these seniors, it feels like the emotions are heightened as well, and you know that it is just going to be a big test for two teams that have veteran coaches as well. So Ethan, if you're in the huddle before this contest, what exactly are you trying to get across to your squad?
Well, really the main thing is trusting the process. You've been a top team all season long, and you know you can do it. You know you can beat teams like this. Close games are going to happen, and I said it to you before. That 1-0 victory against Bridgewater was so crucial for this Lynchburg team. I think it's the best case scenario that they had going into such a tough matchup with Virginia Wesleyan.
You're exactly right, getting to play a little more defense, and as you see on your screen, the ODAC semifinals set. Both matches this afternoon. Washington and Lee, a team that lost their first match of the season. They have yet to drop one since. They are looking so strong at the top. They face Randolph-Macon a little bit later, but the matchup right now that's commanding our respect on Schellenberger Field is Lynchburg taking on Virginia Wesleyan. So we will be back momentarily on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network and what might be the final game from Schellenberger Field this season. Lynchburg looks to extend their run into the postseason, the NCAA tournament. Virginia Wesleyan looking to make damage on the ODAC scale. We will be right back in the Hill City.
Living the dream.
USA, Mexico. That was so exciting.
Just about ready. The national anthem has been performed, and we are ready to go on Schellenberger Field. Virginia Wesleyan takes on Lynchburg, and we'll take a look at some of the key players to watch in this contest. For Virginia Wesleyan, look no further than Cheyenne Diaz, number 33. She continues to be a perennial threat for the Marlins, and you see last year a first-team all-region selection. She headlines this attack that continues to move forward and has so much composure as well. Number 33, scoring 32 goals in her Marlins career and looking to add on today.
Well, then when you look at the other side, our player to watch for the Hornets is going to be Liliana Irigoyen. We talk about threats on this team, and there are a ton for Lynchburg, but Irigoyen could possibly be the best threat that Lynchburg has on offense. As we look at the previous matchup that the Hornets had against Bridgewater, Irigoyen scoring that one-goal difference maker in that quarterfinal matchup in just the third minute of play. She's so versatile in her play. She can play in the midfield, she can play in the wing, and as we see there, she's got 3 goals with 5 assists. She can really do anything for this offense and midfield.
Another one of the seniors who has had such a great season, a lot of strong contributions, and as Coach Todd Olson has cited, maybe playing the best soccer of her career, and certainly at the right time. As we'll go ahead and take a look at some of the starters, starting with Virginia Wesleyan. In goal, it's Allie Greco. She's going to be one to watch, the freshman from Red Bank, New Jersey. Having to come in and replace Rachel Quigley, a former All-American, is no joke, and getting start number 10 on the season today. It is going to be a force to be reckoned with in between the pipes for the Marlins. But the rest of the lineup is Kaylin Bird, Elena Alston, Tori Green, Adriana Gunther, Emma Wynn, Alex Ortega, Camille Jernigan, Emma Shuey, Kaylin Seitz, and our player to watch, Cheyenne Diaz. And Ethan, what stands out the most to you about the Marlins lineup?
Well, like we talked about, it's very deceiving. They don't have the record that they've had in the last couple years, but like we said before the national anthem, any one of these teams could be the #1 seed. So don't be afraid to look at Virginia Wesleyan as the powerhouse up front that they're going to have on this Lynchburg defense. It's going to be a really interesting matchup with the stout defense that Lynchburg has. It's a full stacked lineup of experience back there for Lynchburg. So I'm really excited to see how this offense and defense fares.
That's definitely going to be the matchup to watch, and headlining that back line is Meredith Bowers in goal, the senior from Dayton, Virginia. Start number 15 on the year with a 103 goals against average. Rest of the lineup, McKenna Dom, Haley Casey, Morgan Oliver, Laura Gurkowski, Lauren Orner, Sammy Rogstad, Claire Lloyd, Madeline Boyce, Liliana Saragoyan, and Ella Irons. Vawez in the gray uniforms, they'll move right to left. Lynchburg, the home whites, a spot, and the ODAC championship is on the line. The stage that Lynchburg struggled with last season. Can they eclipse it and move on to a potential finals matchup? We will wait and see. 90 minutes in the Hill City, up and away we go. Immediately, Marlins lose possession. Lynchburg takes over with a throw. Ethan, looking at that Bridgewater matchup for Lynchburg, they get the goal early, and they were certainly pressed, playing defensively almost the entire time after, but a lot of long throws for the Eagles.
Well, like we said earlier, I think that was the perfect matchup that Lynchburg could have had going into such a tough game against Virginia Wesleyan.
First shot of the day from Ella Irons. It didn't take much time on the far side. Snagged by Greco, and the Marlins can head the other way. That matchup versus Bridgewater, a matchup in which Lynchburg was outshot. They still found their way forward, though, and that first goal was all they needed. As Greco loses it, and immediately Lynchburg swamps the net. You can't hold your breath long. Lynchburg has just come through with a speech, an exclamation in the first couple of minutes, and once again on the board early.
Well, what looked like a desperation cross into the box from Ella Irons in the far corner ends up giving an error to the goalkeeper, and just never giving up on the play gives Lynchburg an early lead again in this ODAC semifinal.
Madeline Boyce gets goal number 10 on the season, the first Hornet in double figures since 2019, and Greco just bobbles what was a relatively routine play. Madeline Boyce makes the Marlins pay, and Lynchburg once again up early. A narrative they have started to find success with in this ODAC tournament. It was the third minute in the ODAC quarterfinal, the second in this semi-matchup, and Lynchburg might be hunting for more.
Some might say that's a little bit of deja vu that we've seen here, and perfect start for this Lynchburg offense.
Applying pressure is all you need sometimes, and maybe a second in the cards. Marlins got to watch out. Playing dangerously. Irons falls in the box, but it was too much contact from the Hornets initially. Virginia Wesleyan might be feeling a little stung early in this contest. Coach Bowers might be trying to rewrite the game plan. But Virginia Wesleyan will have 88 minutes to play from behind and try to equalize. Ethan, I'll tell you what, if you want an attack in the ODAC that is capable of coming back, I think look no further than Virginia Wesleyan and their star power up front. But what do you have to do here if you're a coaching staff? Do you immediately go into that aggression, or do you say, okay, let's take our time?
Well, I think something that I always love to say is you got to trust the process. I said it about Lynchburg, and I'll say it about Virginia Wesleyan too. You know how good of a team you are, and that goes into coaching too. You know how good of a coach and you know how good of a team that you've recruited here. So I think for Virginia Wesleyan, it's all about taking into account of how good your team is. Yes, you've had some struggles through the regular season, but you know you're here for a reason, and you know you're one of the better teams in the ODAC.
A team that competes every time they take the field. Pressed early. Ella Irons, the cross, files through. Lynchburg just inches away from number 2. McKenna Dom made a brilliant move to go forward, and Greco almost stopped in her tracks once more. Watch your heartbeat if you're a Marlins fan at this stage of the match. Lynchburg, very similar to their last matchup, comes out firing. They draw blood early, courtesy of Madeline Boyce's 10th goal of the season. But Virginia Wesleyan with loads of time to respond.
Well, something that we've seen from this Lynchburg team every single game is that they come out with so much energy on the bench and on the field. And we saw that from Virginia Wesleyan at first too, but with the amount of pressure that Lynchburg's put on with this Hornet offense, we've seen it die down a little on this Wesleyan sideline, and that's something that they're going to have to pick up if they want a chance of coming back early in this one.
Well, you immediately see the Marlins defense starting to collapse a little bit and moving that back line because Lynchburg just keeps pressing forward. We mentioned Lynchburg's last matchup versus Bridgewater, scoring in the 3rd minute. Well, Virginia Wesleyan came out hot as well, scored 3 unanswered before Shenandoah tried to respond. They had 2 goals, the 72nd and 77th minutes, but ultimately, Virginia Wesleyan held on down the stretch. A Shenandoah squad that has tested many teams in the ODAC this season, but a test that wasn't valiant enough to go against this Virginia Wesleyan offense. They'll have to do something special in this one, but Lynchburg playing the first 5 minutes perfectly.
I think something Virginia Wesleyan has to take into account when you're coming into the Hill City is you're not just facing off against a great Lynchburg Hornets team and coaching staff, but you're also, it's kind of like you're going up against the whole Lynchburg campus. We see on the other side of the track, it looks like the whole Lax team's out there showing their support, and that's something that you have to take into account when coming to Schellenberger Field.
Well, this is the 5th ODAC tournament game at Lynchburg so far this year. All 4 played on Schellenberger Field, and Lynchburg is 4-0. So every team's still alive. It shows the character of the crowd and certainly some of the energy on the other side, as you already pointed out. Marlins, dangerous territory. Casey Preston action, one-on-one battle on the far side with Cheyenne Diaz. Casey ushers it out, but it's a chance for the Marlins, and they're attacking 3rd.
That's beautiful, quick decision-making from Haley Casey. She saw a little bit of a long touch from the right winger of the Marlins, used her body, took the ball out of play, gives her defense some time to take a breath and get back and get in position.
Well, Bridgewater took lots of long throws last time out. Virginia Wesleyan might employ some of the same. Trying to find their way into the box for the first time in the contest. The Marlins playing off a miscue, but Casey gets the deflection. Lynchburg can go out the back door. Quick touch for the Marlins to recover. It goes back to the defenders. Virginia Wesleyan led by Coach Jeff Bowers. Entered the season with 342 wins, which was good for 15th in Division III. This team just perennially gets better and better for the 4th-time ODAC Coach of the Year. Ethan, we mentioned a little bit earlier how this team just keeps getting better, and it really starts with recruiting. This is a recruiting pool for Virginia Wesleyan that certainly expands into a few different areas, and so you can tell they're finding success.
Oh, absolutely. Recruiting, one of my favorite things to talk about. Every player has to go through it, every coach has to go through it every year, and it puts a little bit of stress on the job because when you look at even teams like Lynchburg, but you're always going to have star players that are going to leave.
Irigoyen testing the waters, but a little too far left. Those key players, Ethan, when you look at last year, we mentioned Rachel Quigley, who was an All-American goalkeeper for the Marlins. And it feels like they still have so much firepower. The question for much of the season might have been, well, who's going to be in those roles?
Absolutely, and like I was saying, you're going to have your best players leave eventually, and it's all about when are you going to recruit new players or how you're going to recruit them and what you're going to do with them while some of your best players are on the field. There's development, there's culture that you have to implement into these new players.
Well, recruiting is special, but seniors are also special because you got to recruit them, but you also got to sustain that level of prowess. And this Lynchburg back line showing what the seniors can be all about. Right now, just pestering this Virginia Wesleyan attack. Marlins will need a different answer to unlock this Lynchburg defense. A part of this team that has posed so many problems to so many different good squads throughout the year. And with their season and careers on the line, they've got to play razor sharp. Marlins, chance on the other side to enter the box. Trying to expand this attack. It's just one-on-one battles. Lauren Orner held her weight, and Irons came in to help out. So the Marlins have a throw. Taking quickly on that far side. That's too much contact from Ella Irons. So a great position for a set piece, and Virginia Wesleyan will try to capitalize. Just under 10 minutes in, Lynchburg had the first goal. Madeline Boyce plays off a deflection for the Virginia Wesleyan keeper, Allie Greco. Far side of the field, Emma Wynn presses it in. It goes a little too far. Goal kick, Meredith Bowers.
Yeah, dangerous ball into the box, going to the far post. Nobody finds the end of it. Lynchburg will take that ball every day of the week.
When we mentioned how Virginia Wesleyan has had to feel some things out, dealing with some injuries throughout this year, you got to revisit their schedule. 0-3-3 in their first 6 matches, but they have recovered so well. And in this ODAC slate, they just continue to find new ways to get success, even when it's not the A+ stuff. Getting the 3 seed and now a chance, despite having to go on the road, to make a big difference. Maybe draw another rematch with Washington and Lee in that championship.
Well, I think a tough beginning of a schedule can ultimately lead to so much success for any team, because it helps you lead up into a tough conference of ODAC matchups for the rest of the regular season. So tough matchups, yes, the stats can be skewed at the beginning, like you said, Wesleyan starting 0-3-3, but ultimately it helped them, and they're winning games now, and they've got themselves in a really good spot.
Coach Todd Olson and Lynchburg calls it the second season. Forget all the regular season numbers, the stats. It is truly a different time of the year. And as the calendar is turned to November, it's a matter of who can win and advance when the season's on the line.
That's definitely right. Postseason, any sport postseason comes along, all your stats wipe away, and it's really all about who has a higher number at the end of the game.
Irons called for a little bit of pooling as they go down the field. So the Marlins once again with another set piece. We'll see how they fare as they try to limit Lynchburg's set piece opportunities on the other side. A facet of the game that Lynchburg has used so well throughout the year. Someone like Sammy Rogstad, the freshman from Albany, Virginia, has been a difference maker for Lynchburg. And getting it in the right position. Can the Marlins do the same? Touch that goes over. Bowers collects, no problem.
Really good idea there from Wesleyan on the deflection out past the edge of the 18 to just knock one in the box. Hopefully find a player. It didn't end up and gives Lynchburg the ball. But these are the chances that Virginia Wesleyan's going to have to keep creating.
It's all about consistency, and the energy might be the big point of emphasis for Lynchburg. We've talked about it throughout the regular season, some matchups where Lynchburg felt like they could have gotten a win. You look at games versus Roanoke and Bridgewater. Well, the Hornets have figured it out in the postseason, but it's all about playing 90 minutes. And now, protecting the lead is Irons. So close to the crossbar as she has done all season, peppering the frame. But this one just a foot outside.
Well, right there, we see every sort of talent that Ella Irons has to contribute to this team. We see her get that blazing speed to the far corner, cuts back in with her dribbling, uses her force and her body to keep the ball away and put a really good shot on the net. If you keep creating opportunities like that, they're eventually going to fall in.
Oh, 100%. And it's just a brilliant look from Ella Irons, somebody who might not necessarily be as relied on last year or the year before for goals, but this is a Lynchburg team that came into this season with one idea in mind, and it was that finishing needs to be better. A team that struggled to find the back of the net despite creating opportunities last season. They've switched things around, and to have someone like Madeline Boyce even tally 10 goals, I think is a step in the right direction, because you can tell there are a few forwards who can get you one when you need it.
I think that's also where development comes into play. As like you said, Ella Irons not putting up the best stats last year, but comes into this season and she's one of the most important players on this squad.
No doubt. And looking at Liliana Saragoyen after last game, I think the same can be said for number 27, who scored the game winner. This is going to be played on a hop. Bowers sees it the whole way. Just outside 31 minutes to play in the first half. Evan Gates and Ethan Moratsky taking you through the ODAC semifinal here on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. Lots of action so far. You're not always guaranteed to get a goal in the first 10 minutes, but it feels like the last few trips here on Schellenberger Field, it's been action right away. And now the Hornets looking to stay in the driver's seat. Irons just outpacing the Marlins defense on the far side. It's a deflection off Virginia Wesleyan. So here's that first corner of the day. It goes to Lynchburg. And McKenna Dom heads to the flag.
It's crazy to see how much she does on the wing, forcing a corner. She's so dangerous. And then when you have a corner, you got to look at her height too. She's dangerous in the box too.
She can manifest something out of nothing. Finding that window on the wing has been a specialty for Ella Irons all season. Ava Olsen enters the contest for Lynchburg, replacing Lauren Orner. Olsen, the freshman from Ashland, Virginia. 4 starts on the season. She has been critical in the second unit as the Marlins heading their way out. Constant pressure from Lynchburg on those set pieces. They keep the ball in the box. They make you think differently. But now the Marlins will try to use that counter style of play as well. As this pass escapes everybody, the Marlins will have to retreat. Throw from Kaylin Bird on the way. The senior from Burlington, New Jersey, and much of this Virginia Wesleyan defense has been so crucial because we talk about the goal scoring numbers. Well, sometimes we forget the fact that the Marlins have a very nice defense themselves. 5 clean sheets on the year, .94 goals against average. The numbers, ironically, are the exact same as what Bridgewater posed last time out. So Virginia Wesleyan entering this contest averaging 1.94 goals per game and allowing .94. But the Eagles were quieted very quickly from Lynchburg, and much of the same today. But the Marlins face a very similar test. Can they get out of the midfield, and can they stop this Lynchburg defense from dominating in possession?
Well, I think that's the beauty of this Lynchburg side, is they're not afraid to hold possession and play out of the back with the experience that this back line has. And a lot of it has to do with the trust that the midfield has with this senior back line, as they've played for so long. Their midfield can trust everybody, knowing that they can do what they need to do to be able to drive the ball up the field and pull the other players in.
That connectivity has been so important this season, and when you do have the veterans in the back, like you mentioned, it only helps in establishing trust early. Though Lynchburg did have a difficult non-conference schedule, it seemed like they figured things out a little bit quicker than last year. The Hornets have been spotless. Their last loss on October 2nd, so a month straight on this unbeaten streak, now at 10 games. Throw from Uruguayan on the near side. 5 shots for Lynchburg early in this contest. They've converted on 1. Madeline Boyce, the lone goal scorer, as the Hornets search for a second. Uruguayan winds and fires. Header that goes into the box. Dom was probing, and now Virginia Wesleyan still trying to find the other way. Ella Irons out wide, testing the keeper again, but this one is not on frame. and a goal kick for Virginia Wesleyan.
It's the third shot from outside of the box that we've seen Ella Irons take. She's very ambitious. She really wants that goal. She wants to make it a 2-0 edge that they have on Virginia Wesleyan.
What's so interesting, too, is that this Hornets squad has started shooting a little bit more in the postseason. Granted, in that Bridgewater contest, they were outshot. Lynchburg has been outshot 4 times when they've won games this season. So it's not always an indicator of possession, but you can tell a little heightened aggression.
Like you said, it was a big defensive battle for Lynchburg against Bridgewater, and that could be because they're relying on their best players.
Irigoyen flirting with the corner. But once again, this one lobbed over. Yeah, such a different game versus Bridgewater. And you look at the regular season, it was a matchup that was extremely close as well. But, I mean, Lynchburg feels like they can compete against anyone and everyone in the ODAC. Certainly comes down to knowing your style of play. And the second time around, you have so much more to look forward to. Both of these teams very familiar with one another. The ultimate test is going out and executing on Plan B, Plan C. Hornets trying to jumpstart this attack. They don't have numbers forward. Irigoyen says, I don't care. Here comes isolation into the middle of the field. Skips it into Boyce. And a little too far for Irigoyen to do a give and go, but a good sequence for Lynchburg.
Really good box out there from Virginia Wesleyan, allowing the keeper to come up and collect that ball.
Oliver a little frustrated with that call. 7-on-7 crime as Tori Green hits the turf, earns the call. In under 25 minutes to play in this first half.
You can hear some disgruntled fans from both sides of the game here.
It's becoming a game-to-game basis, and you know, being in the press box right outside of the crowd, you know that you're going to hear a lot of comments throughout the game. We might have to start doing some studies, though, to see, you know, which team ends up being more frustrated. Different games, different settings. I'll tell you one thing, the Marlins did not have an easy trek, a 4-hour trip from VWU to Schellenberger Field.
I have some experience in that drive, and I'm not gonna lie to you, Evan. I hated it every single time. We had to go down there every single year, and it was fun. They had, you know, it was always a good time playing against Virginia Wesleyan. But the 4-hour, especially on a bus that's cramped with a bunch of sweaty baseball players, it's
That's
not
right.
fun.
No, and especially those late games. We're fortunate to have this one at 3:30, because otherwise, if you're finishing a Virginia Wesleyan contest late at night and having to go back towards midnight, not exactly the blueprint you want.
Well, especially at this time of year with not finals coming up soon, but you know that they're going to be here in about a month. There's homework that you got to do too, and so 4-hour trip, it's plenty of time to get it done, but nobody wants to do homework on a bus.
No, especially when it's dark outside. You got the lights and the little small compartments. You just try to avoid it. Lynchburg did play Virginia Wesleyan earlier in the season, and that was in Virginia Beach at 6 p.m. Can't remember the exact return time for Lynchburg, but not the only time they've gotten back late. They also had a contest in Charlotte, playing against Emory in a neutral site battle.
Had to have been in the a.m., 1 or 2 o'clock. If
Yes.
their game was at 6, you got to think they had to, and especially because bus rides are always going to be a little slower.
Got to get your food, too.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. Heads up, Madeline Boyce looking for destroying on the other side. The Marlins play well, but not done with the test yet. Lynchburg working towards the box. Irigoyen winding, and once again, just a little too far over. Madeline Boyce is out on a mission today. Sensational stuff from the junior up front. And the Marlins now lucky to be maintaining just a 1-goal deficit, because if you're looking at trying to come back from 2 against one of the best defenses in the ODAC, well, good luck in the postseason. Here comes Irons, a few steps forward, looking to go around the back. This pass almost connecting with Boyce, but Greco, good hands to hold on.
Ella Irons is so versatile on that wing. She can keep going towards the corner and cross one in. She can cut back, cross one in, shoot it. She can do so much for this team.
Composure all around on this Lynchburg attack. Virginia Wesleyan a little disheveled, but they have a few opportunities that they have shown this Lynchburg defense. One might be ensuing here. Haley Casey had a step, couldn't maintain, and here come the Marlins. They only need one chance, and Bowers plays savior momentarily, a save that goes over the net. The test that we are going to see time and time again, but the senior keeper stays strong. It's a corner for the Marlins.
Well, that was an absolutely fantastic shot from the Marlins. Was going to go into the top corner, just an even better save.
Defense has to stay stout here, as you see the test on Bowers. She might be faced with another one. Corner and swinging. From outside, the shot connects. No, it won't. A touch that dribbles out over the goal line. So the Marlins momentarily showing us what they can do. They are not silenced yet. Lynchburg will make substitutions up front. Megan Lauder and Sejal Wellington enter the contest. Two mainstays on the second unit. So impressed with the energy from the reinforcements that Lynchburg has boasted on this attack. It's a Virginia Wesleyan defense that is not going away anytime soon. Irons still searching on the outside. No answers yet.
We're talking about the energy. I think Virginia Wesleyan's done a fantastic job coming back, getting their momentum into this game, putting pressure on Lynchburg. They're getting chances. They just need to capitalize on them.
Maybe another Hornets one on deck as the cross stays in the box. Irons couldn't connect. Here's Morgan Oliver. Takes a chance and a touch left. We have seen Morgan Oliver take shots from outside the 18-yard box all season long. As now the Marlins have a substitution on that back line. Stephanie Kabalish, the sophomore from New City, New York, enters the contest. 21 starts on that back line last year in her freshman campaign. She missed the month of September after the season opener versus CNU, so back in the lineup with a little more consistency. Oh, the Marlins might have an open window, just couldn't find the pass forward, and Casey ushers it out.
Did a really nice job pulling Alora Gokowski out of position, just couldn't, like you said, couldn't connect with the pass.
And Ethan, that midfield just looks empty right now. Some pockets of space where we're seeing the game being played so often on the wings. Oh, but hold that thought as the Marlins cruise forward. Bowers, another great save. This time the chip goes sailing over the post. Meredith Bowers once again, the gloves on full display as Elena Alston had a golden opportunity. Wow. Smart decision to move out. And Bowers knew exactly what to do. If Alston connects on that chip, it might be a tie ball game.
What a beautiful effort from Bowers. Last-ditch effort. Savior for this Lynchburg defense.
You're pretty quick to understand that Virginia Wesleyan is down, but by no means are they out of this fight. So much soccer to be played. Lacey Garner entered the contest for Lynchburg, and now number 17 on your screen, Riley Wampler, will enter. One of the freshmen who has continued to perform, a goal to her name this season from Richmond, Virginia. You talk about development, Ethan. Well, so many faces leaving this Lynchburg roster next season. Obviously more focused on the defense, but you want to develop those attackers because you understand those contributions show up on the stat sheet. You got to score goals when it matters.
Well, absolutely. With young players on this squad, whether they're starting, coming out of the bench, or sitting on the bench for a majority of the game, when you have such an experienced back line, maybe that's best for them.
Oh, watch out as Greco has to move a few steps to her left. It's moments like these as well where you don't necessarily see the starters out there. It's a different lineup, some veterans, some newcomers. They can present such a difference in energy, and if you just come out with a little more hustle in this 10 or so minutes, it can be such a difference maker.
Absolutely. Like you said, the energy coming off the bench, and that's where depth comes into play when you have players like that who can come on, bring something different to the table onto the pitch.
Grayson Yeager entered the contest for Virginia Wesleyan, the daughter of Coach Chris Yeager at Lynchburg. As Wellington fires this cross all the way across, Lacey Garner. Second opportunity, a deflection, and Greco on the goal line gathers and gets ready to distribute. Back to the point on Coach Yeager, so obviously Grayson wearing number 12 for Virginia Wesleyan. Well, Chris Yeager at the helm of this men's soccer team that will play in a championship tomorrow. That was his alma mater, Virginia Wesleyan. So staying in the ODAC and staying competitive in doing so. So there's a little extra antics on the far side. Haley Casey shows that aggressive defense, and Austin out for a throw.
I think both teams did a really great job there. Haley Casey putting her body on the line, giving her defense some time to get back into position, and Virginia Wesleyan doing a great job not letting frustration set in with how physical that this Hornets team is playing right now.
Physicality is no surprise at this stage of the season, and you got to come out with a little extra firepower as Cheyenne Diaz and Elena Alston, that attack unit for Virginia Wesleyan, will hit the sideline. Planned rest, so a few minutes. We will see what this different look proves to show as the Marlins still search on the other side. Sammy Rogstad a few quick steps forward, jump starting this Lynchburg transition, and now Lacey Garner out wide on the far wing. Waiting for the cross, it gets in. Wellington had the header. Met with contact in the box from the back. A great connection from 12 to 10, just couldn't get the head in the right spot. But Lynchburg stays in the attacking third.
Beautiful cross there. Beautiful job by Wellington to get to the end of that cross. Looked like she couldn't get the angle of it. But another opportunity for Lynchburg, and eventually for both these teams, these opportunities are going to cash in.
Lauder plays it out wide. Maybe round two on the way. Garner met with bodies this time. It's a clearance, just a slow rolling ball as Lynchburg has to retreat back. You might be able to see it on your screen with some of the leaves. A lot of wind in the picture. Now, it's not exactly a sport that's too impacted from the wind. It's not like, as you mentioned, with baseball where you got all the flags moving out, but something to note.
Yeah, constantly checking the wind in the outfield when I played. You never really know. That ball can move 3 different directions with a fly ball.
Hornets are going to get a penalty. Oh, wow, the Marlins back on their heels already. The door just came swinging open. It was silent contact. The referee held his breath. We talked about wind. Well, whatever direction it will take you will work out. Lynchburg has a chance to go up 2. Look who's going forward. Haley Casey from the back line, one of the seniors, a chance to staple a big time 2 on the scoreboard. Moment of truth in the Hill City. Virginia Wesleyan holding on by their fingertips in this first half. Can the Hornets add a second? Decorate and deliver. Haley Casey march into your doorstep. 2 goals for the Hornets. The senior has goal number 2 on the season. At a big time moment where the Marlins are just caught lacking in the box. It was a moment that felt like they needed to get a little mercy from the referee. Instead, Lynchburg converts on their second.
Cool, calm, and collected from Haley Casey, putting it on the ground towards the right side of that goal. An easy second goal of the game for the Hornets.
Well, brand new ball game in a blink of an eye. Lynchburg going against one of the tougher opponents in the conference. They have not wavered. And with 13 minutes to play in this first half, the Hornets will have to sustain a lot of energy down the stretch. The defense has been rock solid, 11 clean sheets on the year, but the job isn't done yet. Oh, here comes another chance. Ball back out wide to Wellington. One-on-one, a little extra contact. Wellington plays through, great footwork. Here's the cross, but the Marlins exiting the other way. Goodness, well, revisiting the contact that caused that penalty, it just felt like such a quiet encounter to get it started, and ultimately those are the ones that sometimes can be the difference makers. And now Lynchburg very fortunate to pick up a second. Also to have a defender take your penalty kicks, and Haley Casey, that's not something you see every day.
Might have been a little bit of a statement shot for Lynchburg in that penalty kick. We heard as soon as the ref pointed towards the spot, we heard the coaching staff all yelling for Haley Casey. They wanted her to take that.
The veteran says, I don't want it to end here. The 2022 All-American gets on the goal sheet. 9 shots for the Hornets. They've slotted away 2. The Marlins with 4 shots, still searching for their first. Opponents only footed 4 goals against Lynchburg in conference play. Those numbers have not changed as Oliver called back for this one.
Like she got a little bit of the ball, but a little too much contact for the ref's liking.
Well, Alexis Manfredi hit the turf, the freshman forward from Lincoln University, Pennsylvania. And she has been such a difference maker for Virginia Wesleyan this year. Immediate contributions with 2 goals and an offense that is still continuing to bolster its attack and its numbers. Wellington couldn't believe that one wasn't called, and the Marlins trying to move forward. Ball is now belonging to Meredith Bowers. Over 10 minutes to play in this first half. This is a rematch of the 2021 and 2022 ODAC championships. The Marlins stole it in 21, and then Lynchburg able to capitalize in 22 at Virginia Beach. That match went to penalty kicks. Maybe a little reminiscent as Haley Casey just put away a spot kick. Wellington getting bullied around on this near side. Oliver hits the turf, and finally the referee says enough.
Seen a lot of physicality and contact. We heard that one. We heard that contact on Wellington up here.
Yeah, you don't have to do much convincing on that one to blow your whistle. Ethan, it's so interesting when you look at a season and the landscape, how it plays out, because if Virginia Wesleyan would have won the regular season matchup with Lynchburg, this game would be played in Virginia Beach. And so it's those little matchups that can mean so much come the postseason.
Absolutely, and I'm sure both these teams are looking at the matchup between Randolph-Macon and Washington and Lee. And whoever wins this game, they're going to hope that Washington and Lee can fall to Randolph-Macon so that they can get a home game or championship home game, because any playoff game is important to have at home, but a championship game, we talk about how different the playoffs is compared to the regular season, but even the championship is completely different from a regular playoff game.
And it's not like professional sports either. It's not about the revenue. It's not about the logistics. It is simply crowd support, getting as many bodies out there, and especially here at Schellenberger, out on the track. It is an atmosphere that is certainly unmatched. There might be other places in D3 that have the numbers that have the crowds, but how many times do you get to pack the track, game in and game out? All the chairs on the far side.
Absolutely, and it's reaffirming knowing that the students on the track want you to win just as much as the players on the field.
Nothing like it here in the Hill City. The Marlins want to try to spoil the tail. Still searching for the first goal. Bowers is down in the box. The Marlins have to settle. Pressed all the way outside of the wing, and Morgan Oliver once again displaying that defensive pressure. Janessa Lowe had no answers. The sophomore from Virginia Beach, staying local. Second opportunity, and it's pressed forward to Megan Lauder. Looking to get out and run. Sejal Wellington was in the zip code. Instead, the Marlins repossess. And Zirkle comes into the contest for Sejal Wellington. Number 30 in white, the senior from Ashburn, Virginia. She's got a goal and assist this season. Low. Filing one forward. Lynchburg looking to keep possession in the midfield, and Wampler connects with Olsen. Look at the speed from Sammy Rogstad. Started a play earlier that resulted in some positive movement from Lynchburg. Once again, the freshman in the back line doing the same. And now Haley Casey sends the ball forward. Look at the space opening up. Chance to connect with Megan Lauder. She's sprinting to the box. But good work from Greco. Reads it perfectly and dives on this one.
Well, really lovely play from Lynchburg. A good example of how they're not afraid to use all ends of the field. You go from midfield to defense, back to midfield, and whatever they can do to open up any bit of space, it works for this Lynchburg team.
What's so interesting, too, when you contrast Lynchburg's style of going out wide, getting all these crosses with the Marlins, Virginia Wesleyan hasn't necessarily needed assists to score this year. They've assisted on just 12 of 31 goals, meaning there's a lot of isolation. That attack sometimes gets a little bit separated, but it's good news in a game like this where Lynchburg has owned the main share of possession. The Marlins don't need a lot of intricate passing to get that goal. You can just find the right person in the right spot, and the race might be on.
Well, I think unassisted goals, there's a couple things that you can take into account. It's that this Marlin attack is not afraid to go right at the defense, and it also means that this Marlin attack is going to force errors. They're going to force mistakes from any team, and that's something that Lynchburg's had to close down on, and they've done a good job so far with a couple saves from Meredith Bowers, but they've limited their mistakes, and it's limiting opportunities from this Marlins offense.
That's exactly right. It doesn't feel like many quality chances have been exactly threatening from Virginia Wesleyan. A few times where they've gotten Meredith Bowers out of the box, still haven't been slotted away. So we play on in the final 5 minutes of the first half. Oliver going to be a little slow to get up this time. She has been meeting the turf constantly. Lynchburg sends a few numbers forward. It's a free kick started by Laura Gurkowski. Yeah, you just see that right knee buckled a little bit.
She got right back up, though, and that's what you're going to get from this Hornets team and even the Marlins. There's been a ton of contact all day.
A lot of persistence as this ball goes into the box. Oliver might have been off sides as this one just trickles out. Either way, goal kick for Ali Greco. The Marlins would love to steal one back now, but the way this first half has gone, the momentum is all in the Hornets' favor. Big time results as they got this one started. The second minute belonged to Madeline Boyce. Capitalized off a miscue from the keeper Greco, and after a bobble, was easy to slot the ball in the back of the net, and then Haley Casey gets the penalty kick to go and doubles the lead. Plays at this stage of the season, you hope you're only talking about for a few days until your next game. You don't want to talk about them the entire offseason. So much to play for. Casey gonna have to read this ball, goes outside, and runs out of room. The Marlins will have a throw in the attacking third.
See a little bit of time wasting there from Haley Casey. She tried to take a touch, maybe get a better clearance, but a little too far into the corner, and she launches it towards Freyer Hall.
That's right. Header, Tess Bowers. Will it be a corner? No. Last touch by the Marlins, so good work from Bowers to escape. Sometimes you always got to get your aggression out a little bit, Ethan. So you look at that last play. Yeah, and just go launch one away. Make sure it's not at the referees or the other players. Soccer is a sport. You see a few long shots, a few in the men's game that were sailing down the hill onto Lakeside Drive. All part of the game.
Well, I think for the men's game, they had the opportunity to do that with a 5-0 victory. When you're up a couple goals, it gives you the ambition to score more.
Brilliant footwork from low to send it forward. Grokowski just has to clear. So much confidence from both of these soccer squads throughout the season, and both of them still alive with a lot of heart in the fight. Can the Marlins chef up something in the first half? Bowers was battling the sun. Lucky enough for the ball to go on the other side of the net. The sun might pose problems in the second half. You see it on the left side of your screen, and so for a keeper on the right side of the field, you might just be constantly battling.
I wanted to go back to something that you said a couple minutes ago about confidence, how this Virginia Wesleyan team has played with so much confidence, especially after starting the season 0-3-3 like we've talked about. Realistically, in the playoffs, confidence is what's going to win you games. You know, and I've said it a couple times, you know how good your team is. Both these teams, one of the better teams in the conference, possibly even in the country. If you're confident enough and you know what your ability is, you're going to win games, and you got to stay true to yourself, and it's really what wins you ball games.
The mental side of the game can sometimes be a little underemphasized, but you can't state it enough. For two coaches that have led their teams to the next level before, it's all about trusting in each other and trusting the process. We know Coach Bowers in his 25th season, Coach Olson in his 31st, just eclipsed 500 wins. There's so much ahead of them. Final chance, the Marlins can extinguish this one rather easily. So Lynchburg has stayed on the gas pedal the entire first half. It's a beautiful first half if you're a Hornets fan, and if you're the Marlins, you're trying to find that lifeline, a little extra breath as we go into the second 45 minutes. A lot to talk about and a lot to discover as we go on the other side. We'll have some halftime stats and analysis, but things looking promising here on Schellenberger for the hometown Hornets. They're up a pair after 45. 45 minutes and maybe more to determine a spot in the ODAC Championship. There's the first goal. It only took 2 minutes from Madeline Boyce, and then follow it up with Haley Casey, the spot kick perfection, as the Hornets have found their way into a 2-0 advantage. They've had their fair share of opportunities as well. You see a lot of crossing through the box. Ella Irons has been active. Madeline Boyce almost found herself a brace, but all told, the Marlins have still been able to hold on. The deficit is just 2, and Ethan, it feels like they can still come back, but you might need to do the dirty work early in the second half.
You said it. Beginning of the first half, the Marlins came out with a ton of energy alongside Lynchburg, and Lynchburg scored that early goal, giving them the 1-0 lead, and it kind of died down the energy, and it was a little bit of a stagnant vibe going on in the Marlins bench. What they're going to need to do in the second half is keep that energy up, keep the possession that they had. We talked about how Lynchburg scored that first goal. The Marlins did have a ton of possession for a couple minutes after that, but after the first 20 minutes of the first half, it was really all Lynchburg. So for the Marlins, they're going to have to keep their energy up alongside of the pressure, and they're going to have to challenge and keep getting these chances and hope that they eventually convert.
Well, you see it on the stat sheet after 45 minutes. It's been a very physical affair. Obviously, the numbers heavily in Lynchburg's favor, and those 2 goals are the number that they will pay the most attention to, but you do got to look at the veteran presence. This is a back line that is sensational. Meredith Bowers has been pressed into action. She's responded time and time again. Another point we emphasize going into the second half, the sun is on the left side setting, and so Meredith Bowers is going to have to go against it the entire 45 minutes. Does that play a role? Is that in her mind right now?
Absolutely. Hopefully the sun for Meredith Bowers goes down a little bit, but as it goes down, you have to think it's going to get more and more challenging until it gets behind that tree line. Meredith Bowers has made 2 fantastic saves in this one, so it's not like Virginia Wesleyan isn't getting chances and they're not converting. Meredith Bowers just playing really, really great goalkeeping today.
What can Cheyenne Diaz and this Marlins attack throw at the Hornets? They've gone through the rhythm, trying to find new answers. They have been unable to get the next step so far. And immediately Lynchburg marching down the field. They'll have a throw from Liliana Siragoyen. Don't forget that Washington and Lee plays Randolph-Macon in the second semifinal matchup. That one's starting at 5 p.m. So just about 20 minutes away. The Generals scored in the 3rd minute and had 3 different goal scorers in their contest as they took down Roanoke. Randolph-Macon was outshot 31-11, but scored late to defeat Guilford and move on to that semifinal. So taking place in Lexington very soon. Opportunity for the Hornets looking to crawl back into the box. Here's a chance that stays on the doorstep, files out the other direction. Instant offense in the cooker for Lynchburg. They have the luxury of time, something the men's team has experienced as well. If you look back to their last contest, able to get it done in their ODAC semifinal versus Hampton-Sydney. Can this women's team follow suit?
Yeah, that men's team played that game so perfectly, scoring 3 goals in the first half and getting 2 even in the second, making it a 5-0 win. That's something that this women's team has to take into mind too, is that they need to keep stepping on the gas pedal. They need to do whatever they can to get another goal to put the deficit out of reach for Virginia Wesleyan, take any chance that they have away from coming back in this one.
Any door you can close, you got to make sure that the padlock is on tight. It's always interesting, too. We talk about these other sports on campus, and you won't see that all the time, especially at D1 schools. You know, if you're watching a women's soccer broadcast, well, okay, why bring up the men's team? But it feels like Lynchburg has such a culture of interconnected athletics, and all these different teams practicing together, working together, at least during different time slots. Beautiful landscape as Irons has this cross deflected.
Well, like you were saying, the interconnectedness is so important for the culture of this campus. Obviously, you have culture for teams, like Coach Todd Olson loves to emphasize. but that interconnectedness, every team loves each other. They talk with each other. They hang out with each other. I know the softball team, when it comes to alumni weekend and homecoming, they do a little bit of a game against the men's lacrosse team. So it's stuff like that that brings this campus together, and I believe makes teams even better, especially when you have like the lacrosse team on the other side of the field right now on the track. It brings teams together knowing that they want you to win just as much as you do.
No advertisement necessary for an ODAC semifinal matchup. Tell you who else doesn't need the advertising. Cheyenne Diaz moving forward. The Marlins now in a good spot. Crosses almost on her heels, and now it's Austin in the box who collides with Casey. Bowers goes upstairs and collects in the attic. Great work from the senior once again. She had to go dust the ceiling with that one, and we have seen the Marlins pose different threats. Cheyenne Diaz that time on the crossing side of things, not the finishing side. But the Marlins aren't done yet. Still making their run forward. Gurkowski trying to exit. Oh, right on the side of the box. Not enough contact as Austin hit the turf. Finally, Lauren Orner gains possession. The referee corroborates.
This is exactly what Virginia Wesleyan needs to do coming out of halftime. They know that they have a 2-goal deficit and they have to get one relatively quick. So coming out with all this energy and the pressure, it's key for them to be able to cut the deficit in half, hopefully early for them.
This is a Virginia Wesleyan squad that has certainly had different looks defensively this year. We mentioned Rachel Quigley, who was in goal last season. There was once a span where the Marlins allowed just 1 goal in 12 games. And so you're losing the ODAC Defensive Player of the Year. You got different looks up front, but they have found a way to respond all season. Now the question is, who is that headliner to lead the effort back into this contest? Can Cheyenne Diaz do something, or maybe some of the supporting cast? Or in a corner, set pieces always help to head in the right direction. Lynchburg, a team that doesn't give up many corners. Didn't allow any versus Hollins and Ferrum a few matches ago. They've conceded 78 on the season. They'll have to defend smartly here. 5 Marlins crowding Bowers in the box. This is a beautifully placed corner, and somehow Bowers makes her way across.
A lot of commotion in front of the goal. Absolute pandemonium down there. But a really good job by Bowers to snuff that opportunity out. These are the opportunities that Virginia Wesleyan have to keep competing with.
Oh me, oh my. I think Lauren Orner got her body on it as well, right on the post. So smart defense from Lynchburg. Stumbling, but still moving forward was Emma Shuey. Lost possession, and now Madeline Boyce looking to get off to the races. Irons has a little extra company on this near side, and now Lynchburg will have to settle to go back to defense.
I really like that idea there from Madeline Boyce and Ella Irons. They drew 3 defenders towards them. Really good idea by Boyce to keep dribbling towards the left side with Ella Irons towards her right, cutting back. Just a little bit of a poor touch from Irons. Really good defense there from Virginia Wesleyan.
Can't exactly get upset about that. Attract and attack. That's what the Hornets can do when they get out wide. Here's a second chance. Diaz testing the keeper. It's a late deflection, another corner. Back to the flag we go. And the Hornets, after that last opportunity, certainly sensing that the fire is brewing. Diaz maybe trying to sniff out that near post. And so now the Marlins can draw something else up. A little bit different. This time they start on the back post. With under 38 minutes left, Lynchburg searching for the finish line. Corner inserted, and chance misses everything. Bowers has a goal kick. And Coach Jeff Bowers visibly frustrated after that one. You obviously just want to get the service into the box. It does, but will go a little too far. And Ava Olsen returns to the contest. Lynchburg once again using many different cards. This is a Marlins squad that is known for its depth. They have started 27 different players during this 2024 campaign. The Hornets also have that depth, though, when you look at the goal scoring. 20 different Hornets have scored. Alston stuck around in the box, and now Ella Irons had the height advantage, just took a weird hop. Ethan, this Lynchburg team would explode if they can get a third goal. It just feels like maybe a counterattack opportunity might be able to seal it.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like Virginia Wesleyan's been playing with a lot more energy on the pitch and on the sideline than even we saw at the beginning of the first half. And if the Hornets can get that counterattack, I think they'll be able to get the dagger and get a 3-0 lead. That would be really nice for this team. It would snuff out any energy that this Virginia Wesleyan side has. And we would know that the bench on the Lynchburg side would go absolutely crazy.
Doubtful that Virginia Wesleyan allows it to happen. The way that they have been pouring forth the aggression. So momentarily had to hold our breath, but it was pretty evident contact against the Marlins in the box. And here comes Lynchburg the other way. Lilianis Irigoyen putting the ingredients in the pot on the far side, but the Marlins defense says no thank you. Brilliant tackle. And now Irigoyen will head back onto the track, a long throw. This time it just goes back to Krakowski. Those one-on-one battles are so difficult to get against the Marlins. And they steamroll forward. The attack is in the mix. Elena Alston, intended target. She's got it in the middle of the field. Now, VWU can set up shop. Great footwork from Shuey. Cross goes in over the head of Diaz. It's a goal kick, but still even more promising is this Virginia Wesleyan attack as we take a second look. Look at Cheyenne Diaz get up. Going up the stepladder, just couldn't connect.
There's some frustration on the side of Virginia Wesleyan. They all were pointing towards the corner. It did look like, in my opinion, that McKenna Dom did get the last touch, but Hornets lucky to end up with a goal kick there.
Referee says play on. Storm is brewing, but could Lynchburg silence it? Irons out wide. Tries to find her way around. It's a corner. So good one-on-one offense. Ella Irons, who has been pestered all day long, earns a set chance for Lynchburg and a chance to go up 3.
That's something that is so hidden with this Lynchburg team is you see Ella Irons was playing on the right there. They switched her with Irigoyen. Both the left fullback and the right fullback of this Virginia Wesleyan team have yet to see those players on their side. So really, really smart decision. I'm not sure if it was by Coach Olsen or the players, but really smart of them to switch up play.
Hornets probing in the box. Casey almost got a foot on it. Clearance only for the moment. The Hornets come crashing down. Greco got the brunt of that contact as she hit the turf. Lots to unpack. Lynchburg ultimately ends up with 2 chances. And the second one, a lobbing pass into the box. Foul called and pretty clear one. So the referee will talk things over with the freshman keeper. Didn't look like there was any intent, just going for the ball late in that play. As that sequence develops, Lynchburg looking like they still have a little bit of firepower. Oliver working her way forward. Now, Boyce. The exchanges in the midfield may be the most crucial part of this game. Coach Olson talked about it before, saying against a team that's so athletic and so aggressive, you gotta win the midfield. You gotta control possession. Feels like Lynchburg did it so well in the first 45 minutes. Can they capitalize now? Irigoyen ran into traffic, and Greco on the line will collect and send this one out.
I think one of the main reasons why Lynchburg is so keen on controlling the midfield is that if you control so much of the midfield and there is open space, it's going to draw the Virginia Wesleyan wingers in, and it's going to give even more space to your wingers like Irigoyen and Ella Irons, and it gives them a little bit of margin for them to dribble around, maybe get a couple more passes, but it just it gives that availability on the wing and open space for passes to be made.
Anytime you can widen the field, it's a positive thing, especially when you have a quick team. The Hornets have so much speed outside. The Marlins boast much of the same. Brecken McClanahan enters the contest for Virginia Wesleyan, the senior forward from Lumberton, New Jersey. Immediately getting touches on the outside. Rodstad gets a foot on the cross, another one that sends it back to Boyce. Ball gallops into her gloves. Just about 60 minutes to play. This contest has been all Lynchburg's. They got it started early in the second minute. And then a penalty kick to add in what feels like very needed insurance, because Virginia Wesleyan is still moving forward. Just 2 goals allowed and 12 wins for Lynchburg this season. They've had 10 clean sheets. Their first 7 wins were shutouts as well. And so it feels like they are ready for every test, as is Meredith Bowers. Another display of what she's all about. You see this shot. They happen quickly. Virginia Wesleyan won't wait, but no problem for the senior in goal.
Yeah, another really great save for her, showing off the athleticism and the reason why she's such a brick wall for this Lynchburg defense.
Ooh, the Marlins had to be careful in goal as Greco collected, but had to make sure there was a head on it at first. Time continues to wane. Season's on the line. Lots to play for in the Hill City.
I think what some people don't understand is not only is it seasons on the line that puts that extra oomph into players, but it's also some people's careers are on the line. Some people don't want to stop playing. So when you have that career at stake, it puts a little bit more pressure onto these players.
You got to slow down the mind, because it can start eating at you, especially in the biggest moments. And not only seniors, but grad students during the COVID eligibility. There's just so much to consider. Rest assured, both of these teams would love to have another season if possible, but it will have to end here, at least for one of them. But still tons of time for the Marlins if they want to recover. Mentioned that Shenandoah earned 2 back versus Virginia Wesleyan. That was in the 71st and 77th minute. Marlins all moving forward as Casey resorted back. This is where the Hornets can be dangerous too if they make a few sharp connections, connecting the dots in the midfield. Marlins traveling all the way from Virginia Beach. They had 11 home games this season to just 6 away games. I think that's very beneficial for where they are located in the conference, really on the outskirts. So you have most of it being situated right near Central Virginia, within a couple hours distance. The ODAC offices are in Forest, Virginia, which is about 15 minutes down the street. You don't even have to travel that far from Lynchburg. So a tough matchup here in the Hill City as one of the Marlins is down on that play. We've seen a lot of contact brewing as of late. .27:31 on the clock. Lynchburg still with that shot advantage, and there's a shot at Meredith Bowers, who has been sensational today. I believe it's 6 saves for Bowers in goal. Does not feel like she has been the lifeline for Lynchburg and keeping them in this game, but you see how many shots the Marlins have boasted on frame, and gotta think she's been pretty valuable today.
Absolutely, one of the better players on the field today, and don't get me wrong, every single Hornet has been doing their job today. But Meredith Bowers, just like you said, a lifeline for this defense.
Pressed in action again. Oh, a great header. Diaz was moving backwards. See, Haley Casey helps her up. Look at the placement. These set pieces have been so organized from the Marlins, and they're still unable to find the net.
Well, it's a game of inches. If that ball was anywhere on target, it would have gone in the net, with Bowers coming out trying to hit that one out.
There was a keeper battle to start this year. Meredith Bowers and Kate Shepard traded starts, and it really was determined based on the matchup, but Bowers has been the mainstay in the starting lineup. You can tell why. She is so impressive. It's not even necessarily that the other keepers on this Lynchburg roster didn't have the skill sets. It's just that Meredith Bowers has been playing fantastic. They have shared minutes. Virginia Wesleyan has also done some of the same. Allie Greco has gotten most of the starts late in the season. She didn't make her first start until September 18th against Salisbury. But consistency now. Irons was down momentarily on the far side. She's back up, now running. Here comes the Lynchburg offense. Brick wall defensively for the Marlins. We've talked about it on that far side. Kaylin Bird has been all over the field. 11 shots for the Hornets to 9 for Virginia Wesleyan. Chance goes outside, offsides, and I believe that's the first time we have seen the flag go up today.
25 minutes left in the second half, and we're getting our first offsides call. That's impressive for both teams.
With the amount of running that these two teams accomplish offensively, I had to imagine we were going to see it earlier, but lots of discipline, and at this stage of the season compared to game number 1 of the campaign, you got to think some things are starting to get sharper.
Absolutely, but that comes with playoffs. You know some of the kinks that you have to figure out.
Attack extended for Virginia Wesleyan. This one rolls all the way through the box. Rogstad with a much-needed clearance. Elena Alston will rejoin the Marlins up front. Sejal Wellington and Riley Wampler enter the contest for Lynchburg. Brecken McClanahan, in the few minutes that she had during that spurt where Alston was on the bench, did a lot to move up the field, apply pressure. Now Janessa Lowe still searching for answers, but Ava Olsen all over it, and a late shove. Ava Olsen was just standing in her tracks. This time it's called as Alston hits the turf. So frustrating sequence for Lynchburg.
Yeah, we see Coach Olsen walking down the sideline wanting some answers.
Either way, Virginia Wesleyan with a golden opportunity. Lacey Garner stands in front of the chance, everybody else in the box. The Marlins tried to deliver a punch to be within 1. Greatly placed, Bowers couldn't get a hand on it. The Marlins have been waiting all contest long, and they finally cut the deficit in half. And a great chance from a free kick. Wow. And swinging, Bowers, one of the tallest players on the team, couldn't catch up.
Well, beautiful shot there from a very dangerous area. Bowers couldn't get the hand to it. She got a little bit of contact, but finds the top of the net. Cuts the deficit down to 1. This is exactly what Virginia Wesleyan needed, and they've got plenty of time to tie it up here.
Emma Wynn, the freshman from Swedesboro, New Jersey, placed it perfectly, and it's not the first time that Virginia Wesleyan has tested the frame in this contest. We've seen a few corners that have been almost immaculate. So hold the phone, we expected it. The Marlins, a great team with even better responses and now a chance to equalize. Whereas Lynchburg will look to stall the efforts here in this ODAC semifinal, a trip to the championship on the line.
This is where the true colors of both teams are going to come out. We're going to see if Virginia Wesleyan can ride this momentum and get a couple of goals and try and seal their win. Or we're going to see if Lynchburg can show their colors of determination and grit, maybe get another one or hold off this Wesleyan offense.
Patience from Sammy Rogstad in the midfield, a great run. Garner with a cross, and Boyce trying to get ahead on it. Almost an immediate response from the Hornets offense. It starts with Madeline Boyce and Liliana Siragoyen. Ethan, 1 point to consider. It doesn't feel like this Lynchburg team has been in this situation very often this year. They've gotten out, they've held teams scoreless in ODAC play. Well, now Virginia Wesleyan has found a way to not only get back in this contest, but do it with 22 minutes and counting.
Absolutely. This is where we're going to see how confident this Hornets team is. Like you said, they haven't been in this position a lot this year. So we're really going to see how well they do and how confident they are in their ability.
A goal from the Hornets now would just take that lifeline right away for the Virginia Wesleyan faithful. But the Marlins, if they can get a counter opportunity, would be very dangerous. Another great ball forward. Lacey Garner got the cross. It's a throw right next to the flag. Heightened intensity from the Hornets attack. They can sense they need a little bit of energy too. Boyce stayed on sides, but unable to collect the clearance from the Marlins, and Elena Alston is all over this one, except Sammy Rogstad puts an end to it. Right back to work on the outside. Lacey Garner searches for the cross that takes a late deflection. Staying in the box. Boyce is going to have a breakaway chance. Greco takes a late deflection. Coach Olsen is furious. Boyce goes down in the box. An encounter that swings Virginia Wesleyan's way. And wow, Greco took a few steps out. Madeline Boyce has had every possible chance at getting a brace in this contest. Instead, it's a goal kick and the Marlins can repossess.
Really good composure for Virginia Wesleyan. We just saw something that we don't see too often here at Schellenberger Field. We saw a furious Olsen. Not only was he angry, but he was so angry that he had to take his hat off. I've never seen him without a hat ever.
Here's a chance. Elena Austin stays right next to Bowers. This time it's the Marlins sideline with their hands up. Austin took a lot of contact as she moved toward Bowers. Back and forth we go. Casey was involved in the mix as well. And with 20 minutes to go in this contest, we just switched from a marathon to a sprint. It feels like we have gone back and forth.
Virginia Wesleyan players on the bench pleading for a penalty, as they saw they're pleading for it when it happened, but they see the replay on the video board.
Would have given Lynchburg a taste of its own medicine. Lynchburg got their second goal on a penalty kick. Here's another look at the chance as Bowers goes out, just making a goalkeeper's play. Nothing unusual about that, but Elena Alston will have to head off to the sideline. She has been crucial in this attack. The sophomore who has started 7 times this year. Just 1 goal, but continuing to increase production, and she is so important, especially being a partner in crime for Cheyenne Diaz.
Well, if you go back and look at the replay, you can see there, like you said, there is a lot of contact towards the Virginia Wesleyan attacker, but Meredith Bowers, she has the right to go after the ball there.
So an extended conversation between the referee and 2 members of that Lynchburg defense. Everybody will chomp at the bit to find anything to try to get a call on or a penalty or any inch of this ball game as we head to the climax. Lynchburg is fortunate to be up 1, but they are gritting their teeth trying to get this one finished. I think the Hornets defense is more than capable, but here come the Marlins pressing again. McClanahan stuck forward, and a deflection that goes over the goal line. Out for Meredith Bowers' goal kick.
Looked like a foot got stuck in the turf, causing a little bit of discomfort for this Lynchburg defense, but veteran Haley Casey coming to the aid.
Grayson Yeager, Emma Shuey back in the contest for the Marlins. We mentioned that Virginia Wesleyan has been a little empty-handed throughout the season. Someone like Alexis Miller, who last year was a 3rd-team All-ODAC selection, NCAA All-Tournament team. Started 1 match, played 75 minutes versus CNU. She has yet to see the field since. The Marlins have had to step up in big ways. We continue to see the contributions just sprinkle through the lineup. It even goes all the way to the freshman. And Emma Wynn, the freshman midfielder, is the one to get on the board for Virginia Wesleyan. Casey having to fight hard against Diaz, and that's been the battle we've seen all day long. McClanahan couldn't find the opening. Now Garner, a touch to Hannah Phillips. And just unable to possess really either team, as Lynchburg will be able to take this throw. Elena Alston's back in the contest, as is Morgan Oliver. Phillips trying to use that fancy footwork down the touchline. It's out. And the Marlins can take over. Virginia Wesleyan might have not had that offensive firepower in the regular season. The numbers were down, but you look at the postseason from last year and you know why they belong in this spot. As the Hornets collect a foul this time. Morgan Oliver hits the turf. It's a yellow card. Just the 2nd opponents have tallied this season. No opponent had a yellow card against Lynchburg until the last time out, but that one pretty clear. Looks like Grayson Yeager was assessed with that one.
Well, it seemed like it could have been writing on the wall for either one of these teams. We've said it time and time again, it's been a really physical contest between the 2 Hornet and Marlin teams. So finally seeing a yellow card. Can't let frustration settle in here if you're a Marlin. Yes, you did give up a yellow card, but if you get frustrated, you're going to give up even more and possibly in even better positions.
Absolutely, and got to set the precedent. This ball played in. Marlins have no issue. Revisiting that last thought, though, Virginia Wesleyan in the postseason during the 2023 campaign got Coach of the Year for Jeff Bowers, Player of the Year for Sam Crawford, and Defensive Player of the Year for Rachel Quigley in goal. They know when the moment is brightest. They're trying to shine now as Alston earns a corner. A chance for the equalizer.
Alston, we see how skilled she is with the ball at her feet. Really great job there by Alora Garkowski to stick with her and get a deflection, helping out Meredith Bowers.
Time continuing to dwindle down, but much is left if the Marlins want to find goal number 2. This corner goes over everything, and they have flirted with the back post throughout this contest, but little poor execution that time. Claire Lloyd and Liliana Siragoyen back in for Lynchburg. Well, collect your breath. The moment we've been waiting for all season has arrived. You play for the postseason. You play to have it on your home field. This is the cinematic stuff we expected, and Lynchburg, through the first few punches, they've now got to respond. It might be as simple as playing stout defense down the stretch, but easier said than done against one of the best offenses in the league. Hannah Phillips going one-on-one in the far side, running out of room. Hannah Phillips has played valuable minutes up front for the Hornets. Everyone is crucial as Olsen gets shoved in the back. That one's pretty evident.
Lynchburg can take their time here. Just over 15 minutes. They're going to do whatever they can to have that clock dwindle down as much as possible.
Virginia Wesleyan has started to take the majority of possession. They're winning this midfield battle as of late. Bodies hitting the turf, everybody surrounding it. You can just tell the isolation up front for Lynchburg has been a struggle. Lacey Garner just hit the turf. Maybe found a cleat in that exchange. And now Cheyenne Diaz going up against one of the best defenders in the ODAC. That's too much contact. We have been treated to that one-on-one. Haley Casey and Cheyenne Diaz. Virginia Wesleyan searching again. Olsen has Emma Shuey all over her. Rogstad attempts to keep it off the touchline unsuccessfully. And more substitutions on the way. Ella Irons and Madeline Boyce will bolster the Lynchburg attack.
I think that's a good, excuse me, sorry, Evan.
Kaylin Seitz back in for Virginia Wesleyan. Go ahead, partner.
I was just going to say, I think that's a good move from Coach Olsen. You do want to bolster the attack. Obviously, with 14 minutes left to play, you want to have good defense, but you also want good attack on there to put pressure.
Oh, wow. Well, talk about attack. Virginia Wesleyan has it all around the field. They now have a 2 to balance it out in the Hill City. It's going to come down to the end as Virginia Wesleyan sends a number forward past the gloves of Boyce. Camille Jernigan has tied it up.
Beautiful shot there. Finds a little bit of open space towards the right side of the box and just slots it right towards the left of Madeline Boyce.
Not much else you can say, and you could tell from the Lynchburg defense. Just caught napping. Might we need extra soccer in this one to decide it? Well, there's still 13:42 on the clock. A goal now would pose a big problem for their opponents. You wanted antics and excitement? Well, here you go. A contest where we knew the Marlins were not out of the fight. Great news getting a goal early for Lynchburg as they could play defense for the majority of this contest. Well, the bad part is that there is a lot of time, a lot of real estate for the Marlins. Irigoyen just pestered on that far side. 3 different Marlin defenders. Right now, the shot total is even at 11. 4 corners for Virginia Wesleyan to Lynchburg's 2. Both teams with 10 fouls apiece. Lots of physicality in the second half. Oh, here we go. Irons was ready. The header going backwards, but Greco sees it. Now the Marlins continue advancing forward. Bowers sees it easily. Right now, Washington and Lee with an advantage over Randolph-Macon. Just under 20 minutes in, the Generals are up 1-0. So the other score line in the conference going the Generals' way. A Generals team that has only dropped 1 contest all season. That was the TCNJ. Perfect in conference play. One of these teams will have to consider the championship matchup. The question is who? Lloyd plays it forward to Irons. Contact with a lot of fresh green in front. And the goal scorer, Camille Jernigan, called for that one.
Really surprised we didn't see a booking there. Ella Irons had a ton of space in front of her after that touch, getting around the Marlin. So really surprised that there's no yellow card there.
Casey put the entry in the box. Irons did everything she could to collect, and now Ava Olson resorts back to Claire Lloyd. Can the Hornets connect the dots? You gotta watch your back as well, because Virginia Wesleyan quicker than anyone on the counterattack. Long throw once again for Irigoyen. Winds and fires. Boy, stuck close. Back to Lloyd. Pressure still on display. Can Boyce go up and get it? Just missed times, and Greco, no problem, gathering in her gloves. The Lynchburg seniors have only lost 6 times on this field in their Lynchburg careers. A tall task in the final 10 minutes of regular time. Substitution for Virginia Wesleyan is number 15, Alexis Manfredi. The freshman re-enters the contest. And Cheyenne Diaz will get a very quick breather. Emphasis on very. Anytime you got your star player in the mix, you want to make sure that they are going out there with full energy. I saw Elena Alston also get a few minutes up front where she was on the sideline, but the Marlins can balance this attack. 27 different players starting this season, so you know that they've got the talent up and down the roster.
Well, that's really what it's all about. It comes down to how much depth you have. Yes, your starters are going to be the most important, but when you have players that can come onto the pitch and give your players a drink of water or a breather, that's so important, and we see it with Coach Olson. We didn't see Madeline Boyce, Liliana Irigoyen, or Ella Irons on the pitch for a majority of this second half, giving them time at the end of the half to make an impact.
Maybe an impact here. Irigoyen, cross, goes across the box. Irons almost so open, but such a difficult spot to try and get a foot on it. Take a look here. It almost felt like Irons was caught in a weird spot. Do you use your body? Do you go for the header?
Almost looked like she wasn't too ready, and in a situation like that, with 8.5 minutes to go to try and send your team to a championship, you have to be ready for anything that can happen. Any touch or any non-touch, you gotta be aware of whatever could happen.
Irigoyen had a clean slate in front of her. All of a sudden, the Hornets have started garnering momentum, but how long can they hold on? Because the energy has come in spurts. Virginia Wesleyan capitalizes quickly. Rogstad, the freshman, runs into pressure on the near side. Pass forward, Ava Olsen. Maybe a step too many as she goes back into the challenge. Now Claire Lloyd. Hornets searching for any window to climb through. Rogstad's cross deflects off. Here comes Irons. One-on-one on the near side. Looking to enter the box. Low rolling cross that eventually finds its way out. And Elena Alston sends it to the sideline.
This is the type of situation where somebody's going to have to step up here. You have your better players, and they could be one of them, but everybody's got to be on their toes, and they have all got to be hungry for this win.
Need resilience now. It's the test that Lynchburg struggled with last year. The Hornets were the ones to equalize in the 89th minute against W&L to send it to OT before falling. Can they avenge that defeat and make it back to the championship game? It's something that Coach Olsen has remained very keen on after winning the 2022 ODAC title. He always says the regular season doesn't matter. When you look at the numbers, look at the regular season title, he says, let's go win a postseason. The Hornets, the 2014 national champs. But to get back to the national stage, it'll have to go through the ODAC tournament.
Speaking of Coach Olsen, we see down there he's actually got a different hat on. We saw a couple minutes ago after Ella Irons' miscue in the box, he did have some frustration throwing his hat, but he's got a new one on, which is great because I know how important his hats are to him.
Oh, yes. Healthy outlook. Maybe a little superstition involved. We'll have to wait and ask. Irons has this chance taken away. Marlins down the touchline, just too far for Oliver to collect. It won't matter as the referee intervenes. On the other sideline, Coach Jeff Bowers signaled some final instructions to the superstar Cheyenne Diaz before she re-enters. Only 5 minutes left, but a goal at this stage would almost certainly seal the deal. Both teams understand the assignment. Hornets doing everything they can for the clearance. Now ball played back. Casey re-enters in the midfield. Morgan Oliver can't get a clean touch. And Oliver will have some clean space in front. The pass to Irons. Can the Hornets just earn a set piece, a corner, anything at this stage? Three-car pileup. Irons did a little thing extra on the ground. Yellow card. She just tried to stop the Marlins from getting back up. Everything to stall the chances, to stall the attack. This is a stage of the match. You got to throw the numbers out the door. Forget your notes if you're a broadcaster. Everything comes down to the field right now. And in the biggest moments, with just under 5 minutes to play, it's what you've worked for all summer long, all season long. The response on the way. Lloyd reversing the field to Grukowski. Here come the Hornets steaming forward. Dom with space, ready to fire. Trickles through to Greco. Here's another look at that one. Madeline Boyce always running forward, always in the mix. She got the party started in the second minute. Greco had a late bobble that goes the Hornets' way. Hornets got a penalty kick in the first half as well to make it 2-0. But the Marlins came storming back. And now it's test time. Sejal Wellington finds the opening on the near side of the field. This one is out. It's a throw that the referee signals. Deep in Hornets territory. Liliana Saragoyen, the one to take it. Beautiful sunset in the Hill City, and it's only fitting at this stage. One team facing elimination. Rogstad flirts with the frame as this one escapes on the far side.
Looked like she wanted to place that ball towards the back end of the goal, try and find a Hornet attacker. Got a little close. Looked like we were going to have to see a save for the keeper of the Marlins, but ultimately leads to a Virginia Wesleyan ball. We've seen a lot of pressure here from the Hornets in the last couple minutes. We're seeing a second win from all of these players. They've all played over 80 minutes. Must be tired.
No matter how fit you are, the minutes start adding up at this stage of the game. Lynchburg regains possession with 3 minutes to go. Now you got to use a little bit of strategy as well, because if you're either coach, you don't want the other team ending with possession. You don't want them to be able to just fire up a chance. Irigoyen runs under pressure on the far side, but the Hornets have done well. Certainly earning more in the midfield, but can they capitalize? This one files through. Cheyenne Diaz tries to connect up front. Elena Alston had pressure all over. Now the Marlins still searching forward. Rogstad resorts back. The freshman who has really played like a veteran all season. Ava Olsen just sends this one forward, but too long of a roll. Greco almost entering trouble. Little extra contact, under 2 minutes to play. Marlins take over. Friday night lights in the Hill City. Sunday will be the date for the ODAC Championship. Right now it would be Washington and Lee. Lots to discover in the final minutes. Diaz, kick into the box. Bowers had to be ready. Second chance, it goes through and in. Did the Marlins just stamp a spot in the championship game?
Ton of chaos in front of the net. Looked like almost every single Hornet defender missed. And falls at the feet of a Marlin.
It's not the first chance, but the second that falls through. And all of a sudden, the 4-hour trek starting to feel a lot sweeter back home as Lynchburg is stopped in its tracks. Substitution will be Kaylin Bird entering the contest. I believe it was Wynn who scored. Wow. Second time threads through. Now Lynchburg has to go quick. They had an equalizer in the ODAC semi last year in the 89th minute. They need it in the 90th if they want to go back and get level with the Marlins. Irigoyen, long throw, sails into the box. And life just got a little bit tougher. Casey resorts back. Everything on the line. The Marlins 3 unanswered. What a chance for the Marlins to silence everybody on Schellenberger Field. Emma Wynn has a brace for Virginia Wesleyan. Lynchburg needs a lifeline. Through into the box. McKenna Dom surrounds it. Only one more chance left. Ball played out. Rogstad with the clock ticking. Sends the crossover. This will do it. Lynchburg had all the momentum and all the energy in the first half. And slowly but surely, Virginia Wesleyan finds the strength and summons the energy to come back. It's a stinger and a late one for so many of the veterans in this senior class. You gotta feel frustrated. You gotta feel your heart drop for this Lynchburg team that had every ounce and all season long moved forward. But this is where the journey will end in this 2024 campaign. Wow, Ethan, it went up and down and around, but what a ball game.
Well, two of the best teams in the ODAC. An absolutely fantastic matchup. Fantastic 90 minutes of play. A great comeback from Virginia Wesleyan. I want to highlight Elena Alston, instead of celebrating with her team after the game, went over towards a devastated Hornet player, told them good game, picked them up, got their spirits up. That is class that you love to see from your players, whether you're on the opposing team or that's one of your players.
We'll tell you what, Elena Alston is a pretty crucial part of what's happening for this Virginia Wesleyan attack as well. And class is always something that's bigger than the game. Lynchburg is going to have to stand back up and fight. We know that Coach Olson's squad had a fantastic regular season. Now the record 12-5-3 on the season, and a game that we really haven't seen in this 2024 campaign was a response from the other team. We mentioned Lynchburg had failed to score in their other 4 losses this season, and so obviously a tough one to deal with. You like the fight from the Hornets, but ultimately this is where the road is going to end.
Both teams played a fantastic game. Every single player should be proud of the performance that was put up today.
Well, what a fun season. Schellenberger Field was the site for so many beautiful moments, and especially for the senior class that extends beyond this 2024 campaign. You look at the success that they found, the 2022 ODAC Championship. Will take a little bit of time to swallow this pill, but Lynchburg will be standing back up very soon. Virginia Wesleyan moves on to the ODAC Championship. They'll face either Washington and Lee or Randolph-Macon on Sunday. But a fantastic season to take you through. We appreciate you always for watching and tuning in with us. The moments have been so special, and we will continue to see what this team is all about in the future. On behalf of the entire LHSN crew and our director, Micah Adams, he is Ethan Moratsky, and I am Evan Gates saying so long from the Hill City.